Good morning. I'm Andrea with Happy Cloud Creations, and this is week 1 of the Prismatic Party Quilt Along. We got a bunch of people on the Facebook group joining us. This week we are going to be cutting our fabrics. So when if there's any questions throughout this video, please let me know. What I like to do when I make a quilt, I like to cut out all my fabrics ahead of time, just so that I don't have to do it later down the road. So if you're worried about losing any of your pieces, a good idea is to cut them all out and put them in like a huge, like a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. I will do that sometimes, or if you have like a little container, you can set them in, just so that you don't lose them. All right, if you guys have questions, let me know. I'll try to look at both. I'm on Instagram and on Facebook at the same time. I got it. Last time I did my Facebook Live, I couldn't figure out where to see the comments. But I think it's because I had my screen weird. So, when you get your pattern, this is the paper pattern, but it's basically the same as the digital one, except for it's printed out in full color so that you don't have to worry about doing that. The last page is your coloring sheet. If you haven't picked out your fabrics yet, this will help you pick out your fabrics. What I like to do, which I haven't yet, is cut out a little piece of each fabric, A through E, and either tape it or glue it. Tape it probably, then you can reuse it for next time if you don't color it in. If you plan on making multiples of this, you could go to Office Depot or library and make a couple copies of this. That way you have some for future use. So I put those down so it reminds me what color is what. Hello, hello. Oh man, sorry guys, I'm not. Okay. You know, you get in the routine of doing live videos, and then you don't do them for months because your kids are at home doing school all the time, and you forget how to do them. They're back in person now, yay! Haven't gotten sick yet, so that's good. So it gives me a little more time to sew and do stuff during the day with you guys, which is awesome. So first page of the pattern is the fabric requirements. So if you are using the 4 at one time flying geese method, you're going to have a little more wiggle room in your yardages. If you are doing the 1 at one time flying geese method, it's going to be a lot more exact to that amount. So, measure twice, cut once. And then, so you'll notice at the top, it'll say cutting instructions for 4 at one time flying geese, baby throw large. So this is the cutting instructions if you want to do the 4 at one time flying geese. Third page is for the extra large throw, queen and king, 4 at one time flying geese. And then the following page will be 1 at one time flying geese. So if you've never made a flying geese before, you're going to want to look at the instructions on how to make flying geese. Which page 6 is the 4 at one time flying geese, and page 7 is the 1 at one time flying geese. So look over those instructions, and if you're still like, I have no idea, my last quilt along, the Joyful Meadows quilt along, I use the exact same method of flying geese for both of those. Same, the 1 at one time and 4 at one time, made slightly larger, trimmed down to size. If you go to, I think it's like week 2 or 3, it says on my YouTube channel, it says Joyful Meadows Quilt Along, and then it'll show you on those how to make those 2 different types of flying geese. And if you watch the video, you can determine, hey, I want to do this one or this one, or just make a tester block out of some scrap fabric. And then you can decide which I would like. I love the 4 at one time flying geese. I know there's a lot of people that have done my patterns before that said they love the 4 at one time flying geese. The only problem is if you make your seams too big, your flying geese will end up too small. So you want to make sure you have accurate seams when making those. The 1 at one time is great for if you're going scrappy. So I know there are a couple of my testers, Cindy and Marge, they went scrappy. Cindy, I'm not sure if you used fat quarters or just scraps. I know Marge used fat quarters. So if you look at my blog, the first blog of the Prismatic Party Quilt, it'll show you the tester quilts, and it'll show you the ones that are a little scrappy. And so if you're doing scrappy, you may want to, instead of looking at the main cutting instructions, you'll want to you might want to wait till it's next week to do block 1, or you can go through each step that has pieces. You're going to go through here and cut those pieces. So it's a little more difficult if you're going scrappy. So it may be easier just to cut those pieces out as you go, since each step shows you what pieces you need. Does anybody have questions about cutting? My major tips for cutting are basically, if you're not going to pre-wash your fabric, which I don't, you still want to make sure to iron it. So or press it. So I haven't pressed mine yet, and you can see there's all sorts of wrinkles and creases in my fabric. And if I were just to lay this down and start cutting, I might not lay it down perfectly flat, and my pieces might not end up the correct sizes, you know? So you're going to want to make sure to press your fabric. If you're not able to get out the seams very well, sometimes if you get a squirt bottle of water, that'll help those seams come out better. So I don't pre-wash my fabric. I don't use starch. If you do pre-wash your fabric, you're probably going to want to use starch, because when you don't pre-wash, it's still a little stiff, and it's fine. But when you wash your fabrics, the stiffness goes away, and so you may want to use starch. Who won the pattern? I didn't see. Oh, Andrea. The names are escaping me, but if you go back to the giveaway post, it says right up in the first couple lines of the giveaway post who won the giveaway. Someone won in the Facebook group, someone won on my page, and then someone won over on Instagram. So there's 3 giveaway winners for that one. What's scrappy? Gloria asks. So you see how I have main colors in my pattern? So like Cindy did scrappy, as in each one of her, like her block 1 had all different fabrics, and then these 4 blocks, each one was different. She didn't use only aqua. She used only yellow and only pink for all 4. She made each one different, and same with these. Each one was different. So if you have a large stash of fabric and you're not wanting to go out and purchase fabric, you can get those and see, okay, do I have enough to cut out just the amount for this block? Same with these. Like, do I just have enough for, just a little bit of amounts? And that can kind of give you a really cool looking quilt, and it can help you use up your stash if you don't have full amounts of yardage. Does that make sense? Wash, use, best press. Okay, cool. You wash and use best press. Andrea, you're saying Andrea. Is your name pronounced the same as me? Because I know some people pronounce it Andrea. But I'm Andrea. And so you're Andrea too. That's who won. I'm not sure who won. I would have to go back and look. Any other questions? So I don't wash. If you do wash, the fabric amounts you may need to buy slightly more, because when you wash, fabric can shrink and it can fray. So that's another reason why I don't wash, because the edges are still nice and crisp, and I'm not losing any yardage. And I like that crinkle look once you've washed and dried your quilts. Some people don't like that. I like the texture it gives. I wish I would have grabbed my quilt. It's in the other room. It gives it a nice texture. Some people like their quilts looking more flat, and if you like your quilts looking more flat, you're going to want to pre-wash your fabric. What else? So you're going to want to, after you're done ironing it, you're going to want to take your fabric, pressing it, and you're going to want to make sure that the grain is all going the same way. And to do that, I just lift it up and kind of go like this. And you're going to want these bottom two lines to be parallel. And that's going to give you straight grain. And sometimes, as you can see, the edge isn't actually straight. The two edges don't meet up. So what I'll do before I start cutting my fabric is make sure that is an even straight edge. And then when I actually start cutting, I like to go from cutting out my largest pieces to smaller pieces. I feel like you can save fabric doing that. Because if you start cutting out smaller pieces first, you might not have those pieces left over for your big pieces. Some of these pieces are pretty big, especially for, what is that, block 2? If I can find it. Yeah. So block 2, see how it has this large piece back there? For the baby size, it's not that large. But if you're using and making a queen or a king or an extra large throw, that piece is going to be big. So you're going to want to make sure to cut out your bigger pieces first. So I list them from biggest to smallest in pieces. If you do, for some reason, don't cut out your bigger pieces first and you end up having to piece together for the large ones, that's fine too. Because from a distance, nobody's going to see their seams if it's the same color fabric. I'm trying to think. I should have wrote things down. I always forget to do that. So, cutting, this is like the easy week, you know. Measure twice, cut once. It's best to use a rotary cutter and a ruler when cutting out your pieces. This one doesn't require any special rulers. I know some people like using special flying geese rulers. I don't. I just have my basic rulers. You know, the basic 6x24, if you're new to quilting, a cutter, a mat, and your basic 6x24. This is Fiskar. I've used it a lot. The lines are starting to wear away. So, I actually went and purchased a new one at Joann's with one of those 40% off coupons. Haven't used it yet. It's the Omni Grip. And so it's supposed to have a non-stick bag. I'm hoping it actually works. Has anybody tried this yet? Because sometimes if your ruler's really slippery, it'll slip around. So I'm hoping this will help my ruler not slip. And I got the 8.5 by 24. It's not necessary, but I thought I like to cut out big pieces and big blocks, so I thought I would go for that. I don't usually buy new rulers, but I went for that. And then, so the basic 6x24 is fine. I like to also use a 6.5 by 6.5, so I went and got this one too to match so that they line up. Because if you use a bunch of different rulers, sometimes the lines won't match up on the rulers just because they're different manufacturers and maybe they calculated their lines differently. I haven't even checked to see if theirs line up. Theirs lines up pretty good, Fiskar, with the Omni Grip. I like to use a little small one when I'm writing out my lines for the half square triangles, and if my flying geese are small enough, I like to use this to trim them up, because the baby size flying geese will be 2.5 by 4.5 inches, and so using a smaller ruler is more manageable when trimming those up than using one of the larger rulers. And then when you get to finishing your blocks, sometimes it's nice to have a larger ruler to trim up your blocks, but it's not necessary. I say make do with what you have. I don't think you should go out and buy all these things if it's like your first quilt, because what happens if you decide you don't like quilting? But who would not like quilting, right? Quilting's awesome. Donna Jordan says use a 5-pound weight to steady your ruler. It really helped me. Oh, I've never tried doing that. Maybe if these are still slippery, I'll try doing that, because it slips sometimes, and I hate that, you know. Quilter Select rulers absolutely won't slip. Oh, I've never heard of Quilter Select rulers. I'll have to look those up. Colleen said that. So, you know, you're going to want clear rulers so you can see the lines. A cutter, a mat so you're not cutting up your table, and your pattern. The pattern is 15% off through the end of the quilt along, so if you have friends that want to join in, it's still on sale if they want to join in. It's not too late. We're just cutting fabrics. Does anyone have any questions about cutting your fabrics? Next week we will be going over block 1, which I'll demonstrate, which is the center block. I'll demonstrate how to make the flying geese and that center diamond in square block. That's what I will do next week. And I say way too much. Glad so many of you guys could join me. It's nice talking when there's actually somebody on the other side, you know? Creative grid rulers are great too, Sue says. And Ramona says, I use the weight when cutting. Maybe I'll have to try to do that. I have never tried using a weight. I do have a 3-pound weight. That's a great idea. It doesn't usually slip too much if I'm paying attention, because what I do is when I cut, I like press down on the ruler really hard when I'm cutting, so it doesn't always slip, but sometimes I don't know if the fabric is just a little more slippery, but it will. So be careful about that. And then once you got all your pieces together, you can label them if you want. So sometimes I'll just take a piece of paper and write on it a 2.5 by 2.5 inch square, and then I'll pin that to it, because some of the pieces are fairly similar. Like you got the flying geese and the half square triangle ones. Some of those are a little close in size, like from 3 to 3 1/4 inch. So just by looking at it, you might not know that's what size it is. So it might be good to take a little piece of paper, and then I just take one of the stick pins and pin it to that little stack of paper to keep all organized. Yeah, I think that's it. If there's no more questions, the sun is really glaring in here. Sorry, guys. I should have shut the curtains. I think that's it. So tomorrow I will go over block 1. If you guys ever have any questions, you can email me at happycloudcreations@gmail.com. If you purchased the digital pattern and are still looking for it, make sure to check your spam folder. Some people were saying that they found their digital pattern in the spam folder, which that one will come from Andrea at happycloudcreations.com. Same with my newsletters. If you've signed up for my newsletter, I'm sending out a weekly reminder about what we're doing in the Quilt Along. And so that, if that's going to your spam folder, just go to your spam folder, click on it and say, this is not spam. And then that'll throw it in your inbox. And then hopefully the following week it won't get lost. Yeah, Amy says she uses a Ziploc bag to keep all her stuff in order. Yeah, I like doing that too. So once I cut mine out, probably today or tomorrow, I'll throw them in a Ziploc bag and label them. I'm excited to make this quilt with you guys. I'm excited to see everybody's fabric. I know a lot of people have been posting their fabric over in the Facebook group, but not everybody has yet, because I know there's people here on the video that haven't posted their fabric yet. So I'm really excited to see what you guys pick. I use round weights. So a lot of people, it looks like a lot of people use weights for the ruler. That's such a great idea because it kind of weighs it down. Great idea. So I guess that's it. I will talk to you guys next Tuesday. The video will be next Tuesday. So I waited to do this week's on Wednesday so that people that had paper patterns coming in the mail, I was hoping that they would have their pattern by now. If you haven't gotten your pattern, it is taking slightly longer, I think, because of that storm last week. I don't know, is the storm still happening? So they're on their way, and so give them a little time, 7 to 10 business days. So you should get your pattern. And yeah, so I guess I'll see you guys Tuesday, next Tuesday, 10 a.m. For the next live video. Have a great day, and Make sure to post your progress photos. I want to see them.